Well, hello, people. We're back again, moving on to chapter 2, the environment of fashion. So, last chapter, we got a little bit of the history of fashion. We learned a little bit about some of the intangibles. You got a bunch of definitions. We talked about a couple of versions of the fashion cycle, right? And we talked about silhouette. So this time we're going to talk about um, another influence for fashion, and we're going to talk about some of the key things that influence fashion. So this chapter, we're going to talk about knowing your customer. That's really what the environment of fashion is, right? And in order to satisfy their needs, you have to know who your customer is. So we're going to do that by talking about market segmentation. We're going to talk about some specific environments that influence behavior. We're going to talk about a little bit of sociology, like the sociological component. We're going to talk about generation, so the generational component. We're going to talk about ethnic groups, and we're going to talk about some of the economic impacts that affect fashion as well. So get ready to dive in. The fashion industry is a highly sophisticated, mechanism, and there definitely is it is a driver of our economy. So, in terms of the global economy, it's 2.5 trillion, and in the United States alone, as consumers, we spend nearly $380 billion on apparel and footwear, based on the last estimates that we're able to get in 2017. And, it's an industry that encompasses, everything from textile and apparel brands to wholesalers and importers and retailers. And before before COVID took over, it employed more than 1.8 million people in the United States. And something like 70% of first jobs were in the retail sector. So, U.S. fashion industry has evolved from its roots in manufacturing to really high value design and other creative jobs. And many industries really focus on the high value parts of the apparel, supply chain. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how all the factors that go into that $380 billion that we spend in apparel and footwear in the United States. So what is market segmentation? Market segmentation, we talked about marketing, some of the marketing positions in careers in the first chapter. Market segmentation is the process of dividing a market for potential customers into groups, segments, right? Based on different characteristics. And the segments that are created are composed of consumers who will respond similarly, likely to respond the same ways to marketing strategies, and who share traits such as similar interests or needs or geographic locations. And segmentation is important for marketers, or important to the fashion industry, because it helps companies personalize their marketing campaigns, but also personalize their choices, right? The choices that they make in the products that they sell to their consumers. And by arranging their target market or target customers, we've used those words before, into segmented groups rather than targeting everyone individually, they can be more efficient with their time and their money and their resources than they could be if they were targeting consumers on an individual level. So let's look at let's get an introduction to the 4 types of segments. So the segments as listed on the page are geographic, demographic, psychographic, and behavior. And we're going to dive more into those in the next few slides. But when we get to the careers in fashion, you will see that these will pop up again in the career that we're talking about. We're going to talk about trend forecasters, and they use these exact same market segments when they're developing trends. Geographic segmentation is when a business divides its market on the basis of geography, so location, right? And geography can be segmented by an area such as a city or a county, international regions. You can also break those markets down into, rural, suburban, and urban areas. And what geographic segmentation does is it just, allows a company to take into the wants and needs of their customers based on where they live. And it's an integral factor in determining product sales and, market position. Really important in the marketing and understanding of your customers. And market segmentation based on the geographic units, they include other factors, right, in geography. So that includes factors such as climate and cultural preferences and populations and more. So if you think about Los Angeles, California versus Salt Lake City, Utah versus Chicago versus Miami, Florida, right? So, there may be some things that are similar, but, the climate is different and the population sizes are different, and, the cultural preferences may be different based on those geographic locations. So the geographic segmentation just helps, especially large multinational businesses. It helps them understand those location-based attributes for a specific market, and it enables them to better address the wants and needs of the customers in these different areas, right? And then on the flip side, for small businesses with limited budgets, right, they can better serve a wide customer base in their local area if they understand the geographic segmentation of that area, right? And basically what that boils down to is it will limit the amount of money they need to spend in order to get their customers. So let's look at let's just look at an example such as this, right? You are a luxury car company, right? And how you target customers who live in a warm climate with your vehicles is going to be different than how you target a customer in a cold climate, right? And we joke. I used to live in Buffalo, New York, and when people would come to visit, they were like, "What kind of coat should I buy? I'm gonna just go to Burlington Coat Factory, and well, actually, it's just Burlington now. I'm just gonna to Burlington Coat Factory and buy a coat." I'm like, "Buy a coat when you get here, right? Because the winter coat that you are gonna buy in California for $50 is not the same type of winter coat that you'll need here in Buffalo that you can get for $50. So again, because of that geographic understanding, retailers and producers are able to tailor the needs based on what that location needs. Geographic location is just based on where people live, right? Larger swaths of where people live, and demographics drill down even closer. So if we look at the graph that is on the screen, I chose Rancho because that's where the campus is located, but you could easily go in and Google demographics for whatever city you live in, and you will get the same information. So the estimated population of Rancho as of July 1st, 2019 was 177,603,000 people. And if you look at the graphic to the side, it's broken down into population. So if you look at Rancho, it is a predominantly Hispanic city, because it's 38% of the population is Hispanic, 34% white, and then all of the other breakdowns. 2+ races are just people who are of mixed race descent, or who check 2 boxes when it comes to that. So demographics is just divides the broader groups of consumers into smaller, homogeneous segments. So they look at demographics. The graphic I use was the graphic I use it to show you a racial demographic, but they also do a demographic based on, they do a demographic based on family size, they do a demographic based on race, they do a demographic based on military service, they do a demographic based on US born or non-US born. So again, all of these things just help, they just help marketers, right? They help them decide how to, who and how to market to. And this demographic piece was something that underwent a lot of study before they built Victoria Gardens. So they had to, number one, did we have a population size big enough to build a mall? Did we have a not just population size large enough, but did we have an economically viable population to build the mall? Did we have enough lower income people or beginning their career people, so younger people that are going to want to work in the mall, right? So those are all some of the demographic, some of the data that marketers look at when they're looking at segmentation. Physiographic segmentation is a method that is used to group prospective, current, or previous customers by some of the shared personality traits, beliefs, values, attitudes, interests, lifestyles, all those things, all those factors. So it takes a little bit of geographics, a little bit of demographics, and we're going to talk about behavior in the next slide. It takes a little bit of all of those things and combines them together. So let's look at the images that are on the slide. The image at the top, so the big piece is we actually have a local company called Esri, ESRI. Esri is how they say it. It's in Redlands. They do geographic modeling, and they do psychographic studies, and they're actually a leader in the United States on psychographic studies. So they have a this page that I'm showing you is free and open for anyone to use. I'll put the link under this video. It's called Tapestry, and with Tapestry you're able to put in a zip code and it gives you all kind of information. So I live in Fontana. I put in my zip code in Fontana. That's why you see Fontana is in yellow. And if you look at the screen, it's giving us all kind of psychographic information about Fontana. So if we start on the left-hand side of the screen, it gives us the definitions of 3 types, and those are in my air quotes, right? 3 types of kind of lifestyles. I think in the book they call it how people are motivated, right? So the principle, the status, and the action. That's in the textbook, right? And the textbook also talks about PRISM. So PRISM reveals what people buy, not why. And that values, and lifestyle systems, sorts customers into categories. So really what Tapestry does with this last piece is a value and lifestyle system. And so you see that there are some definitions here. Now, our textbook had different names for them. Esri uses these names just because they're proprietary to them. But if we look at the marketing segments, they've named them. And the highest percentage in our area, they're called Bloomsburgs, and they're young professionals that have moved. If you move over, it talks about the segment description. They've moved for bigger homes and live in fully developed neighborhoods. Below, I gave you a screenshot of the next version, which are urban villagers, and those are multicultural, multi-generational, multilingual folks that are risk takers but focus on their children and make sure their gardens look good. And it talks about where they like to shop. And I hate to say it, that's me. Those are all okay. I don't shop at Home Shopping Network, but all them other places, that is me. I did not know I was an urban villager. I'm not multilingual, but all those other things I am. So the psychographics here are pretty dead on, and soccer moms are there as well. That's why I'm going to include the link for you underneath this video, so you can go out and put in your zip code and find out some information, right? And if we go back to the bigger picture up top, it also gives us median income. So in my zip code, the median income is listed, the median income for the county. Now it didn't give us the median income for the state, because in all honesty, that's paid information, and I didn't need to pay, so that was behind a paywall. It talks about monthly credit card charges. So based on my zip code, about 14% of my income should be going to credit cards. Mine ain't that, but that's okay. If you are at this or a little bit over, it is what it is. And then county, and then population density for the zip code. So if you look at my zip code, which is North Fontana, we have a pretty dense population, especially when you compare it against San Bernardino County. Now, San Bernardino County is hard to quantify, because San Bernardino County is the biggest county in the United States. It's actually bigger than the state of Connecticut. So the density isn't as big of a psychographic factor here as it is for many other places. So if you were a business owner, either a small business owner or a large business owner, this information could be really, really important for you to, if you wanted to open a small boutique in Fontana, in North Fontana, you would look at this and you would say, okay, are my price points for folks that make about $85,000 a year, right? That are willing to spend this much on their credit card. So this psychographic information is really important, because it talks about personality traits, beliefs, attitudes, and interests. And I have lived in Fontana long enough to see Fontana and Rancho grow. So I was here when Victoria Gardens was all orange groves, and literally tumbleweeds would be floating down Foothill Boulevard. And companies use this type of information when they make determinations on where they're going to build their stores. And even though it's not retail, this is a restaurant, but Chick-fil-A uses this information. They look at median income, household size, and since they are an evangelical Christian organization, they also look at church attendance. So that's important for them to understand some of those psychographics as well. So finally, we're going to move on to behavior. And finally, we're going to talk about behavioral segmentation. And that's just the process of sorting and grouping customers based on the behaviors that they exhibit, right? So, these behaviors include, the types of products that we consume, or even the content that we consume, how we interact with the organizations that we consume, and again, that value and lifestyle system that the textbook gives you a good definition of, make sure you know that, is really important in understanding behaviors. And the crazy part is, behavior segmentation can even be broken down into smaller, choices, right? So, purchasing and usage behavior. So why do we purchase what we purchase, and how do we use it, right? Occasion purchasing. So the timing that you purchase something within your life, or the year or the day, can be determined by your shopping behavior, right? Benefits sought. So we seek different experiences from the things that we buy. So some people go to Starbucks because they really love coffee. I don't, right? I go to Starbucks because they have really good lemonade. So what are the benefits? Right? And then customer loyalty, right? So, and that really is the most important behavioral segmentation, is loyalty. And, loyal customers, it's folks that have a loyal customer behavior. They don't even know why they go to Target, right? We don't even know why we go to Target. We're just loyal to Target. And listen, let's not get the Target versus Walmart debate going, or the Apple versus Android, right? Some people are just loyal because they are. And those are all components that marketers want to study when they're looking at segmentation, looking at those behaviors. And that's why everybody has a loyalty program, right? So Michael's has a loyalty program. I'm just like, I don't think I've ever gotten anything by giving you guys my phone number. And the girl was kind of like shrug me off, right? So they do that because they collect that information. They collect, your occasions, right? What time of day do you make purchases, and your behavior. So all of those things are captured by the loyalty app, and it helps them determine what to put in the store on Foothill in Rancho, because that's where you shop.